are again. Chris, it's James Adair with another episode of the Equity Accelerator podcast, where you and I hash out ways to accelerate our internal equity, our spiritual equity. We talk about
like that
financial equity as well most of the time. But most of the time we talk about, running a mortgage business. We talk about running a real estate business and things that we're doing that's working, what we're worried about, what we're excited about. And it's just a fun way for us to catch up and connect. We're old friends. Today, I'm super excited. We've got a great friend of mine, Justin Stoddard. He's a title and escrow sales rep, which is kind of a strange thing. Most people don't. If you're a real estate agent, you know exactly what that is. If you're a real estate agent on the West Coast, you know exactly what that is. But if you're listening on the East Coast, you may not know what that means. But he is here with me in the Portland, Oregon marketplace, and he works for Old Republic Title. And his job is really helping manage all these transactions. You got buyers and sellers, and then there's an escrow in between. I always explain to my clients that the escrow company is like the referee between the buyer and the seller, and they do what they're told in writing. But Justin's job is really unique. His job is to create value for the real estate community in any way he can. It's an opportunity for him to get really creative because he's not allowed to buy anything or spend money. So he has to just come up with cool ideas and be business partners with the real estate community here in town. And as a result, we close loans with his escrow team because he's been able to provide so much value for us. That's kind of the trade-off. I hope I'm not getting you in trouble. Is that accurate?
Oh, that's spot on, man. That's exactly right. My competitors are that do break the rules and buy stuff they're not supposed to. Hopefully they're listening to this and crap, you mean he gets the business by following the rules? Dang it.
Yeah. We play a clean game here in Portland, Oregon. It's funny. I went to, I'm in this coaching group, and I sometimes go to these conventions, and I kind of interface with lenders, particularly in Southern California. And when I hear the kinds of loans they're able to write and the kinds of situations they get into and out of, and I'm just I'm blown away. It seems like it's so different than how we do it in Oregon. It's in Oregon, everything's so just genuine and, it's proper. And it's just, in Los Angeles, it's just a free for all, man. Anyway, so do you talk to title reps in Los Angeles?
I do, not from our company, but again, talking to some of our competitors, they're man, it's the Wild West stuff.
Man.
Anyway.
It's you can just basically do, seems like everyone just does whatever they want. Anyway, but that's beside the point. I'm so glad you're joining us. One of the things you and I, Justin, have really connected on over the years is, trying to do it differently, trying to set up and have a bigger conversation with your clients. And I think that's something that really resonated with me about your approach when you got into the business. I'm friends with your brother. He used to work at the mortgage company I worked at years ago. And so I knew you just by name. But when you gave me your initial pitch, I was like, that's actually really smart. And I'm excited for you. I hope it works. And so far it's been great. And it's 5
years later, here I am.
Yeah, exactly. You're definitely one of the top dogs in the city. And so I'm really happy and I'm proud to be in business with you. But let's talk about some of the things you're doing and some of the things you're excited about. I already know the answers to this, but I'd love for you to share it with any real estate agents that's listening to this or a mortgage lender that's listening to this, what you're up to and how you're pushing your industry and your business forward right now.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity. I'll actually use you as an example because you've been a mentor of mine. Just in the way you go about doing your business. I've tried to model a lot of that from a couple different facets. So I guess, when I got involved in the industry, I realized really quickly, in fact, you're a prime example because I reached out to you after I met you, no call back multiple times. And I thought that you weren't the only person that wasn't calling me back. So just know that you're in good company. Any top producing person probably isn't calling back a title person that they don't know well, because typically our industry hasn't been wrought with value, right? We've been, hey, let me take you to lunch and schmooze you and become buddies with you. And in exchange, we'll do business, right? Because we're friends, right? And I just didn't like that value proposition. I wanted to really solve a problem. And if we became friends like we have, in the process of adding value, then awesome, right? But you don't need any more friends. I don't need any more friends. Like that shouldn't be the leading premise of why you do business together. And so I sought out to really identify what are lenders, what are real estate agents really struggling with, and how can I bring a solution in the form of my network, in the form of knowledge that I either had or could get or could have, and to really solve a problem that real estate agents face. And so that's what I've become a student of the past 5 years. And it's been really interesting, what I've seen. Obviously, the industry's changed a lot in 5 years. We've seen the rise of iBuyers, kind of massive tech portals are no longer positioning themselves only as friends of real estate agents. They're now also competitors of real estate agents.
Sure.
There's just a whole new dynamic happening out there. And one of the things that I've realized is that real estate agents are struggling from a couple of things. Is number one, they're experiencing margin compression. Like they're getting paid less and less and less. And that they don't have enough high quality referrals, right? They've got leads that they can buy from one of these big portals, but they're really missing the steady flow of referrals that's consistent with their ambition, which is consistent with their goals. And so I began to kind of dig into to find out how can I help solve that problem, and was reminded of kind of the journey that I went on in my previous life when I was a custom home builder, and I was trying to find a way to get more business. I had actually been coached by Buffini and Company. I believed entirely in business by referral and being face-to-face with people. The reality was, though, that I was 26 years old, and the people—
Hang on, Justin, you said you were coached by Buffini as a home builder?
Yeah, as a home builder. Yep.
Wow. I thought it was only real estate agents. That's interesting. Cool.
Yeah, I was one of a few, right? But the model resonated with me that if you can pour value into relationships, that there would be a return. The problem is the relationships that I had access to, which were additional 26-year-old kids, right, weren't necessarily providing referrals consistent with the $1 to $2 million custom home projects that I was looking for. Right. And so I had to venture out and find other ways to bring in business, right? I could buy leads off Angie's List, but most people weren't selecting a custom home builder that way. And I think of real estate agents kind of in a similar boat, right? They go into the business, they want to be in business by referral, but they're not getting enough business out of it. So they try and buy leads, and they kind of really hate that life because they're having to be like an on-call doctor, right? Like picking up the phone and calling back, and like who knows when. It's
just enough. It just keeps you just enough to you can't quite cut yourself off of it. You're like, well, I got this one guy who might take a meeting with me, so maybe this works.
And I think I made my money back last month.
So tantalizing.
Totally. And so, what I did is I realized that there's people that are upstream from me that know that business is coming down the stream, right? And I identified those as a home builder, as architects. And so I began to realize, I approached an architect using a really bad method, which is, here's a bunch of my cards. I'm a really good builder. I'll take good care of your clients. You got anything for me to bid on? And I sounded like every other builder out there, which was me, help me, right? And I'd leave the office. So I realized I needed to take a different approach. Is that, yes, I'd identified where business was coming from, but the approach was poor. It was all about me, as opposed to really stepping into kind of a consultative type role to say, tell me why you're different. Tell me what you're struggling with. How can I help you solve your biggest problems? And in exchange, I'd love to be in business with you. Like the way that you can keep me working for free for you is to refer me, to give me an opportunity to bid on some of these projects. And that started to work. And part of the way that I did that is I would bring, once I identified a problem that architect had, I would introduce people from my network. And part of that was I was building a network of who's upstream from the architect, right? Which were interior designers. They were developers. They were realtors who were selling vacant lots. These people were able to refer. Yeah, right. All these people, they were able to refer an architect. And so I started to really solve the problem of the architect. And I found that the architect liked that and started to send me business. And so as I got into my role, I quickly realized, again, from the experience, like I explained with you, is that people don't love title reps, right? That's not their favorite people in the world to talk to. They aren't wrought with value. So how do I step into a different role? How do I actually show up valuable? And so I began identifying and asking the question, who is upstream from a real estate agent, right? Who knows that a transaction is going to happen before they ever go to Zillow, before they ever go to Redfin, before they ever talk to a realtor? And I started to identify that there were some upstream professionals, right? There were CPAs who were having tax-related conversations, talking about the upcoming year and whether or not they were going to buy or sell. Financial advisors. There were property managers, There were attorneys, right? Like these people were oftentimes, the good ones were in the know that something was going to happen. And so I began to identify, are these people referring agents? And I realized that a lot of them are not. And so I started to uncover, why are they not? And started to kind of solve that problem, is that real estate agents aren't showing up in a way that would be reticent of receiving those referrals. And so I began to kind of solve that problem and realize that there's a really big opportunity here, not just from helping real estate agents get referrals from these upstream partners, but to also change their identity, right? Instead of being brought in as one of many off of Zillow, right? Kind of revolving round robin ad stream on the right.
Right.
But really be referred by another advisor, by a professional who already has a lot of clout and trust with that client, to where when that attorney says, do you have a good real estate advisor? I've got someone who I think you should talk to. That they're going to wait and talk to that person before they make a decision. And so that's the model that I've created, and actually is now turned into an ebook that's available on my website now, and a book that's actually going to be published. I'm aiming and hoping by the end of the year. So
wow, awesome.
That's what I'm working on.
You're writing a book. What's the book going to be called? Yeah, that's it.
As of now, the book is called The Upstream Model.
The Upstream Model. I love that title.
Yeah.
Chris, make a note of this. Let's maybe call this episode of the podcast The Upstream Model. Chris is the producer of the podcast.
Noted. The Upstream Model. I love it.
So this reminds me, I love this idea, and it's all in the execution. I'm sure a lot of agents are nodding their head and like, yeah, I already do that. Or I've been meaning to do that. And they may not realize that they just don't have it systematized properly, or they've done it a couple times, but not every time. And they don't have like, one of my mentors, Trevor, is so good about, if you have a system that works, you kind of like create a 3-step process and give it a special name. And then you can, when you're talking to these upstream people, you can be like, oh, well, what we do here is the Borrow Smart loan delivery system, right? And here's what that means. And it's just something that they can kind of wrap their head around, and you can push upstream more easily when you can create like a little hook for them to grab onto. I was recently listened to a Todd Duncan podcast a couple weeks ago, and he interviewed Tim Sanders, who is famous. I think his most popular book is Love is the Killer App. He's written a few other books. He's a great speaker and thinker. And he was talking about a lot of these things too. But the way he framed it was, how can you as a lender or as a realtor become an essential partner to your clients, as opposed to just a really good option, right? The best of us are just a good option, and we know a lot about what we do, and we know how it works and how to move them through the system. But how do we become an essential partner to them, right? And he basically was saying a lot of the same things. Like, you have to understand that a real estate transaction is a function of a much larger system. It's a function of a much larger chain of events in someone's life. And to become, how do we get involved in other aspects of that chain of events, right? And a lot of it is like what you're talking about. It's like, well, what's important to, how can we, what's important to a homeowner that has kids? It's like childcare, summer camps, all these things. I mean, we're dealing with that ourselves. We have kids. We're wrangling with that ourselves. I've often thought about putting together like a pamphlet of like, here's what moms think of preschools in East Portland, right? And like have that be just like a giveaway on my website or something. Or here's some real information about not just preschools, but schools and summer camps. And, it's so hard to manage. It's so hard to manage these summers. At the end of the summer, it's a touchy subject for me right now. School starts really soon, and I can't wait.
That's so funny. I feel like there's that's like an ongoing project. That project could never end. It was such great advice. If you're a real estate agent and you're looking upstream from the point of sale when somebody's going to buy or sell a house, what are the things they need? I love this, Justin, because really, it could be preschools, it could be middle schools, high schools, it could be fitness and health. I mean, there's all sorts of angles you can start to serve people upstream from the idea of buying and selling a house.
Well, and I think
a good exercise for agents listening to this, we just did this in my coaching group last week because rates are pretty low right now, and we're trying to come up with good refinancing scripts, and it's a really it was kind of a simple exercise, but it had some really profound results where we just started listing, well, what are all the reasons why anyone would refinance? And you're just like, save money, get cash. You think of 3, but then you start coming up with all kinds of other ideas like, oh, you're getting divorced. Oh, you have to send your mom to a home, or you need to build an ADU, or you start if you really just loosen up your mind and start thinking of, well, why does someone ever need to buy a house? And just start listing every reason. You could probably think of 50 in like 10 minutes. You could probably think of 100 in 10 minutes, even if they're kind of like strange, but each one of those reasons could create, well, who's involved with that kind of situation? And you could start thinking of other professions. You could start thinking of other people upstream from that type of moment in someone's life. I think that would be an awesome exercise.
I want to, before it escapes me, I want to take the chance to let the audience know that, James, you live the upstream model, to kind of make a distinction, right? There's what you guys have talked about is like, what else might my clients need? But in addition to that, it's who knows that a real estate transaction is going to happen before they ever talk to a realtor, right? That's kind of the concept of the book that I'm writing. This path that you guys are going down is an amazing one. And because it's a little bit of a separate topic, but I want to kind of make mention of that because James, the reason why I'm probably on this show with you and why we're such good friends is because you lived these principles before, for a long, long time. And what I mean by that is, right, I was new in the title and escrow industry, believed that I could be different, didn't know exactly how. You listened like others didn't, right? Other lenders were like, yeah, here comes a title rep, stiff arm. And you sat down and said, what do you like? Tell me about you, right? And you realized that I had this interest in like helping real estate agents that wanted to retire, actually retired. You said, dude, you need to meet a good friend of mine. His name's Nick Crowder. He's writing a book on this topic. That led me to Nick. Nick and I became friends. I started to help Nick. Nick brought his business to me and my company, which gave me the belief that I really needed to be working with top producers because their conversation stimulated my mind and I loved it and I ate it up. And so from that little ripple effect of you taking an interest and adding value to me, not only are you in the process of refinancing my personal property, like there wouldn't be another option for me because of the value that you've poured into me. That is, I'm not shopping rates. I know your rates are competitive, right?
They're excellent. They're excellent, Justin. You're getting a great deal.
That I know, right? Because I trust you as a professional, but it goes far beyond that. And I think that's where, right, kind of this other component of the upstream model is you pour such value into people that of course they're going to do business with you, right? Of course they're going to support your business because I know by continuing to support your business and even take advantage of your excellent rates, but I get to continue to be a part of your network. I get to continue to have James pouring into my business, right? So it becomes this reciprocation where transacting business is only kind of a small part of it. The bigger piece is that we're deeply integrated and how do we help each other win in business? Right?
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for the endorsement. That's excellent. And I've always gotten a kick out of connecting other people, just being a connector, like in the Malcolm Gladwell Tipping Point book. You guys have read that, right? That's like one of the great business books because it's all about how ideas spread. And he came up with a formula. He says the story of Paul Revere, the famous, American revolutionary in Boston, when he said the British are coming. They wrote songs about him and stuff, and how he's famous for riding his horse and like waking up the militia to do battle with the British who are coming. But it's cool that Gladwell really digs into that story and uncovers that Paul Revere was actually like, he was a guy like us. Like he was super connected, super gregarious. He was like, he really knew he had the town wired. And like for him to be the one to do that, he could muster the troops like no other. Yeah. And it was like that in order for an idea to spread quickly, you have to access one or two people like this, right? And to have it propel through multiple networks. And with social networking that we have now, like people that have big social feeds and have a lot of facility with, communicating on Facebook or Instagram. I mean, you can get an idea out so powerfully and so quickly now. And I've got a good idea about that. We'll share. Justin, you and I are developing some content to share with some agents, and I'm going to make a podcast about this cool Facebook idea that allows you to do that. I'm bursting with excitement about it, but I'm just teasing the future podcast.
What a tease. Tease. You'll have to come back for another episode of that one.
Come back for more. Well, Justin, I'm super excited for you. I'm so thank you for everything you've done for us. You're super involved in our branch and working with Trevor and our 10X event, emceeing and just being a huge part of our business at Sierra Pacific. So I salute you.
Thanks,
I'm super excited you're writing a book. I knew you were putting together a bunch of like information tools and stuff, but I'm can't wait to check out this book. That's going to be a huge milestone for you, I'm sure. And I'll pre-order it as soon as I can.
I love it.
So in order for people to find you, they just go to thinkbigger.realestate. Is that one? So if you're a real estate agent anywhere in the United States and you're listening to this, you got to go to this website and subscribe. Tons of interviews with high producers. And there's a newsletter that I subscribe to where every week you distill, the top 3 ideas from all the interactions you've had in your week. And it's super valuable, and it's the perfect price of free. Thinkbigger.realestate.
And on that homepage, I'll just say that I've got a few of the chapters, kind of a pretty robust outline and several of the chapters written for the book.
Oh, good.
That are made available for free. So people can go and actually download that today for free. Again, thinkbigger.realestate on the homepage. It's front and center. And then, you can also subscribe to get the weekly updates of my show, the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. So,
all right, Justin, buckle up. You're about to get the Equity Accelerator bump.
Yes. Love it.
Tell me how many downloads you got after this podcast. So I'll be thrilled. All right. Awesome, man. Well, thanks again for coming. Always good to see you. And I will be in close touch. And Chris.
Yeah, James, I would be remiss if I didn't say, like, as the connector that you are, if people wanted to connect with you and sort of reach out to you and whatnot, how do people get a hold of you as well?
I'm so glad you asked, Chris. You could find me online at my website, pdxhomeloan.com. If you're not from Portland, PDX is like the nickname for Portland. So pdxhomeloan.com is my website. It's just my name, James at pdxhomeloan.com. You can email me, and I always enjoy your feedback. Listeners out there in the internet world, bring it on. Fight me.
Nice. All right. Well, with that, we'll catch you all in the next episode. James, Justin, good to see you, and take care. See you next time.
All right.